Since the release of its first season back in 2018, it didn't take long for You to become one of the greatest psychological thrillers in the history of Netflix. And with characters like Joe and Love killing left and right and center, it's really no surprise that fan anticipation for season 4 is so high. But what do we know about the next installment and which questions still need answered? For all this and more, stay tuned. Is season 4 officially happening? First things first, it's important to note that season 3 of You came to an end just a few days ago, having been officially released on the 15th of October 2021. Why is this important when discussing the future of the show though? Well, even though the most prominent Netflix titles ranging from Bridgerton to The Witcher took at least a month after release before any announcement could be made in respect of their renewal, it's something that fans of Netflix have come to notice since the onset of the coronavirus pandemic. Doesn't really matter how popular a show is, the streaming platform has to ensure that the fan base of a property is still solid before greenlighting it for another season. And to do this, viewership numbers have to be collected and crunched. But as it turns out, You is a bit of an outlier. In fact, you'll be happy to hear that the renewal of the series was actually announced a couple of days before season 3 even hit our television screens, showing just how much faith Netflix has in the extraordinary couple we've come to love. What we will have to wait for is the release date though, which should be kept tightly hidden until both filming and post-production have completed. But if the previous timeline of the show is to be believed, we're thinking November 2022, depending on delays. Either way, season 4 is coming, so let's take a look at the questions that still need answers. Is Love actually dead? Let's start with one of the most prominent questions, which has everything to do with the future of Love Quinn, portrayed by Victoria Pendretti. The audience was introduced to Love back in season 2, and she quickly stole the show with her beauty and unique personality. But in a shocking twist, it was revealed that Love had a lot more to hide than we initially thought. As it turns out, she was the one who had been manipulating Joe from the start in an attempt to make him fall in love with her. And after realizing that she was far from the girl he fell in love with, he almost took her life. Luckily for her though, baby Henry was steadily growing inside her belly, which caused Joe to spare her and try his hardest to live normally by her side in the suburbs. And to a large extent, this is the question season 3 revolved around. Could two mass murderers really forget about the past and raise a baby boy without ending up in some deep trouble? The answer was clearly a resounding no, with everything from infidelity to murder causing them to be at each other's throats in a thrilling finale. After coming out on top, Joe poisoned Love with the essence of wolfsbane and set the house ablaze. But is she truly dead? Joe isn't the best when it comes to dosing people, so we wouldn't be surprised to see Love stalking him come season 4. Have we seen the last of Marienne Bellamy? Another character we fully expect to see come season 4 is Marienne Bellamy, the quiet librarian that Joe ended up falling in love with despite his attempts to be a good father and husband. Knowing full well what Love is capable of, especially after the murder of Natalie Anger for pretty much the same reason, we watched in anticipation as Marienne was invited over to the house while Joe lay paralyzed on the floor. But in another twist, which was mostly brought on by the arrival of Marienne's daughter, Love decided to spare her life, instead telling her to run as far away as she could in an attempt to escape Joe. Suffice to say, Marienne didn't need to be told twice and ended up disappearing from the town of Madre Linda without a trace. In the last moments of the season though, we see Joe walking around Paris, a town that she has always had an affinity for, considering her love of the language. We also hear our anti-hero saying that he won't give up until he finds her, showing the lengths he'll go to in an attempt to find his happily ever after. There's no doubt about it, the showrunners are clearly setting up her return in the 4th season, but how Joe will come back to track her down, we have no idea. And after discovering that he both stalked her and murdered her ex-husband, goes without saying that this reception will not be a kind one. What else are we going to learn about Joe's past? You as a franchise has become incredibly successful because of its exploration of Joe Goldberg though. Despite his psychopathic tendencies, he's a character that fans can't help but love. In fact, even Penn Badgley has begged viewers to stop their adoration for the character he portrays, stating that nobody should want to be in a relationship with such an obsessive and psychotic person. That being said, he has some redeeming qualities that shifts him from villain to anti-hero. We have also explored his past quite frequently, with each season delving into a scenario that formed him back when he was a kid. First season, we came to learn that he actually murdered his father in an attempt to protect his mother, while season 2 dove deeper into his relationship with Mr. Mooney, who took him after his mother had abandoned him. And in season 3, we come to learn that while he was living in the orphanage, he developed a rather close relationship with the nurse, who just so happened to be an abusive relationship with her boyfriend. After refusing to give in to his psychopathic thoughts and deal with the problem, Joe hears that she has passed on, no doubt because of his inability to act, which explains why he always needs to act to protect the ones he loves. But what else are we going to discover come season 4? Just have to wait and see. Who will be the villain in season 4? Since Marienne won't want to see Joe if he ever ends up finding her, it could very well be the case that Joe finally crosses the boundary and ends up becoming the villain of the franchise. We saw how vindictive he could be in season 1 when Beck didn't give him the love and adoration that he craved, after all. So we could definitely see visions of the old Joe if Marienne ends up telling him that she can't be with someone who does the things that he does. But since the audience loves Joe so much, we doubt the showrunners will be writing things in this direction. What's more likely is that a Quinn will be behind the scenes doing her best to make Joe's life an absolute hell. And if Love's indeed died, this leaves only one scorned woman left. We are, of course, referring to Dottie Quinn, who's portrayed by the one and only Saffron Burrows. Remember, Dottie went off the deep end this last season, actually believing that baby Henry was the reincarnation of her dead son, 40. So if she ends up discovering that Joe is the one behind the deaths of both Love and 40, as well as the handing of baby Henry to Dante and his loving husband, no doubt that she'll want to kill him for herself. She's still a Quinn. She'll likely have the resources to track him down. We could even see a mother-daughter team up. What does this all mean for Ellie? Last but not least, we couldn't help but think of poor Ellie when things went down in the season 3 finale. For those of you who have already forgotten, Ellie was the daughter of Joe's landlord, an ex-lover back in Los Angeles, who Love ended up murdering in an effort to keep his secret. But since Joe has grown close to Ellie and became a surrogate father of hers, to a certain extent, he promised that he would send her money whenever he could to ensure her survival. It's why he still repaired old books in season 3, with all the profits being sent to her. But now that Joe's been pronounced dead and assumed the identity of a man named Nick, the question is whether he'll still be able to send money to Ellie. If he does, there's no doubt that Ellie will know that he's still alive and in Paris. In fact, she may even end up tracking him down alongside Theo, who both have a bone to pick with Joe. Suffice to say, things are about to get interesting. We can't wait to see where the writers end up taking us. And there you have it, some of the biggest questions fans want answered before season 4 finally reaches us sometime next year. Did you enjoy last season of You? What do you expect from the next installment? Be sure to let us know in the comments section down below.